My name is Gabriel Carlsen. I'm responsible for fintech across primary, secondary, repo and collateral markets and sustainable finance at ICMA. I'm pleased to provide an update on the development of the common domain model for repo and bonds at the ERCC annual general meeting in March. The development of the CDM for repo and bonds is a long-term strategic initiative for ICMA. The CDM was initially developed by ISDA and Regnosis as an industry solution to tackle the lack of standard conventions in how derivatives, trade events, and processes are represented, and in response to regulatory change. The CDM is essentially a software that provides a common digital representation of securities lifecycle events in the form of code. The CDM is designed to be an interface to existing messaging standards such as FIX or SWIFT, or data standards such as ISO 20022. The aim is to generate industry-wide efficiency gains by facilitating interoperability across firms and platforms, reducing the need for reconciliation, enhancing consistency of regulatory reporting, and laying the foundation for innovation. ICMA is working with Regnosis to extend the CDM to repo and bonds. As anticipated, the inaugural meeting of ICMA Steering Committee was held at the beginning of March. The initial focus is to model a standard fixed-term repo with a single ISIN as collateral, which accounts for a large share of the market. We are also modeling a bond transaction in the CDM, both as the underlying component of a repo, but also as a standalone transaction. Lifecycle events that will be modeled in the CDM comprise trade execution, clearing, and settlement. The initial phase is 18 weeks, running from March to June this year. It is important to note that at the end of this phase, the objective is to deliver a CDM software that can be implemented in a production environment. To guide this project, we have set up a CDM steering committee with members who are willing to contribute to this cross-industry initiative. These include Barclays, BNY Mellon, JP Morgan, UBS, but also Tradeweb, Eurex and LCH, IHS Markit, Murex, Swift, and Allen & Overy. ICMA member firms who would like to contribute to this initiative are welcome to get in touch. CDM Steerco members to date have shared anonymized sample test trades and associated electronic trade messages of repo transactions from their test environments, for example, in FIX or in SWIFT. The different data points contained in the messages are used to develop the repo model in the CDM and ensure the CDM is compatible with existing messaging protocols and data standards. The initial 18-week phase for developing the CDM is split into a number of milestones. To date, 3 meetings of the CDM Steering Committee have been held, in addition to a training session on Regnosis modeling environment, which is called Rosetta. As set out in the modeling roadmap, the main focus has been on developing a conceptual repo model based on GMA terminology, the ERCC best practice guide in the European repo market, and feedback from the CDM Steering Committee. In practical terms, this entails mapping out the processes and different steps in a repo, sale and repurchase of securities, transfer of cash and securities within each leg, dates such as initiation date and termination date, the pricing or repo rate and associated values, whether absolute values or percentage ratios, and related data points. The conceptual model will then be translated into a logical model with conditions and validation rules. The completion of the first phase is scheduled for the second week of June. At the end of the initial phase, we will be holding an event to showcase an implementation of the CDM and its benefits, most likely at the end of June or beginning of July. An announcement will follow in due course. It is important to highlight that the CDM intends to be developed as a cross-industry model, building on previous ISDA and ISLA work, but there are concepts specific to repo and bond markets which need to be reflected in the model. ICMA is closely coordinating with ISLA, who is working with Regnosis on a CDM implementation for securities lending, to ensure consistency and benefit from synergies, where possible, between repo and securities lending. We also agreed with ISDA and ISLA to formalize an MOU in relation to shared governance and IP rights in the CDM. The CDM is a long-term initiative, and the key to yielding the benefits of the CDM is adoption, which we will be promoting actively. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions or would like to contribute to the CDM initiative, please don't hesitate to get in touch.